What's going on, everybody? Today we've got ourselves a 2018 Ram that the check engine light keeps coming on, but it doesn't seem to have any kind of drivability issues at all. I've already scanned it once and it had some history codes of a lost COM with a fuel pump control module, and I basically cleared them, drove it, and the codes did come back, but it drove fine. I never noticed any kind of hiccups or anything at all. So let's get into this thing and see if we can figure out what's causing these codes. Launch actually reached out to me and wanted me to try a scan tool for them. And it's like, well, it's got to be something that does FCA security gateway stuff. So they sent me the 431, the X431 Pro 3S Plus. This thing is FCA gateway approved. I've already got it set up with the auto off, and yeah, it's very similar to my Snap or my Phoenix Smart. The layout looks a little different, but one thing about it is an unlocked Android operating system, so you can actually go on here and do some things like with apps. It does have a Play Store on it. You got your Gmail, your Google Chrome, so that's pretty nice. I do like that it's an unlocked tablet. It comes with a little VCI here with a little extension cable that you need. But let's get into this and scan this truck, see what codes it has in there. So let's get it connected here. And for the auto off, you do need to be on the internet. So I've got my Wi-Fi connected and everything. So we're gonna hit diagnostics here. It's gonna connect to the vehicle and it's gonna figure out that it is a gateway vehicle. And right here it's telling me to make sure I've got a internet connection. I do. Okay. Tell me again to keep the network going, and here's where it's going to want us to log in. I've already put my info in here, so we just need to select that we're North American, and you can see here's the auto auth login page. We're going to hit OK. And there we go. Secure gateway unlocked. So I've got now a launch-based scan tool with gateway unlock abilities. I don't know when Topdon's going to get all of their scan tools back working again. All I know is they're working on it, and the process is apparently frustrating and long. So there is no ETA on when they will get their unlock ability back through auto auth. So it's nice to have another scan tool that I can do this with. I have been just using my Snap-on because it's up to date. It goes through all the time just fine. So that's been my go-to scan tool for secure gateway vehicles. So it's nice to have another one. Alright, so we've got the vehicle scanned here, and we've got two codes in the BCM. Lost COM with camera module rear and courtesy lamp short circuit to ground. Courtesy lamp would be, I guess, interior lights. I've got the door open and it is not on, so it might just be a blown bulb. I'm not real sure. It's not what it's here for. The camera, well, somebody's put an aftermarket radio in here. so we're not going to be talking to the camera module anymore, I'm sure. And then the PCM, what it's here for, the check engine light, lost COM with fuel pump control module, and it said it's stored. So U0109, that is the issue that we're having. Like I said, I did clear this code, I redrove it, it never acted up, but this code did come back. So now that we kind of know what code we're dealing with, we can look up some service information on ALLDATA and get a game plan on how to figure out what's going on with this thing. Alright, so I got ALLDATA pulled up here. I've searched the code U0109 lost communication with fuel pump control module, and there is a lot of information in this. A lot of new information that I've noticed Chrysler has started doing with some of the newer vehicles. Hopefully some more manufacturers will jump on this and start doing it as well. If we scroll on down through here, we're going to find a little, what they're calling a generic system schematic. Basically, we've got a PCM here that controls a relay that is feeding battery power to the fuel pump control module over here. That then runs the fuel pump, and then we've got a command and a feedback. So we have no data lines, we only got a command line and a feedback line. So if we just scroll on down through here, it's going to cover a lot of stuff, and I want to show you something that is going to be very, very helpful for this diagnosis. If we keep scrolling down here, it's going to go through a bunch of testing stuff, and then if we get down here, what is this? That is a picoscope capture. So interesting that we have a picoscope waveform right here in service information to go off of. We've got a known good right here of what this signal should look like. So this is going to be awesome for diagnosing this vehicle. They tell us right here what our channels are. So blue is the feedback circuit on the fuel pump control module side of the open. Oh, this is actually a bad. Yellow is PCM side of open. So this is a broke vehicle. That's interesting. So not only do we have a known good, we've got a known bad here. Showing a result of an open on the FCA ground circuit. So we've got several scope patterns here. This is really cool. It's nice when manufacturers give you real scope patterns to go off of. So that gives me some good information that we'll be able to go off of while we're testing this. And if we scroll back up here to the top, there was a section where it told us kind of what this code means. Okay, right here. U0109 right here. PCM lost COM with the FPCM. We could have a feedback circuit open, feedback shorted high or low, fuel pump relay output circuit to the fuel pump control module open or shorted to ground. So basically it could, like the 12 volt power getting to it could be bad. Let's see, ground is circuit open, so the fuel pump control module ground circuit could be open. Pretty much this is looking like we need to go to the fuel pump control module and basically check our powers, grounds, and then our command and feedback lines. PCM requests 100% fuel pump operation. Fuel pump control module defaults the output of the fuel pump to 80% duty cycle. So this is what happens when there's a fault present, kind of how things react to it. So good information in this that I'm going to have to read over real fast. I don't want to really bore you guys with reading operation descriptions and things like that. But time to do some research, figure out where this module is, and see if we can get to it very easily and do some checks there. All right, let's real quick just kind of look at some live data here. We do have a little search box here. We'll just type in fuel. I've already pre-selected kind of what I wanted to look at. Fuel pump relay desired state, variable fuel pump speed, the actual rail pressure and the desired rail pressure. And then we've got duty cycle and variable speed fuel pump volts. So let's hit OK on that. And right now we can see the relay is turned off, truck's not running, so the rail pressure is 60, 1 psi, the desired is 62, so we're pretty much right there where it needs to be. The variable speed duty cycle is set to 80% right now, and then the pump voltage is right at 3 volts. So that's what we got here. One little thing I do like about this is it's got the English metric right here in the data, so you can quickly swap between them. I do like that. That's very nice. And of course, you could select which scale you want the data to be displayed in. So let's start this thing up. We do see our pump duty cycle drop down to 50-ish, 51. Rail pressure matches. The pump voltage is changing a little bit, but overall everything seems to be working correctly. And I mean, I drove this thing and it drove fine. I wasn't watching any data, but I think we can drive it and watch this data and maybe see when the fault happens. So we'll keep that in mind. Probably going to be scoping some wires at the same time to see what is actually happening with their signals when the fault happens, and then we'll kind of correlate it with our data. Maybe we'll see. But so far everything looks fine. But like I said, I do know that I was able to duplicate it. It just gave me no drivability issues. So back to doing some research. From service information, I was able to find the modules. Not too bad. Up under here where the fuel tank is on the frame rail, that little module right there is our fuel pump control module. So we should be able to get up there and back probe some wires, do some testing. Alright, so you can kind of see there I've got my wires back probed in there. I've got 4 channels hooked up. Let me get out of here and I'll tell you what they are. So I've got channel A is hooked up to pin A, which is our 12 volt coming in from the relay here. And then channel B is on pin B, which is our fuel pump control wire, our pulse width modulated control wire. C is going to be my main ground here to the fuel pump control module. And D is our feedback circuit here. So let me get the screen capture going and we'll show you what's happening here. Also, I've got all my grounds. They're actually jumpered up here to the battery ground. So everything's got a good ground. And if we take right now the keys out, and you can see everything's flatlined on the scope here. If I take and turn the key on, look at that. We've got it turned on for a second, turned off. The relay turned off. Let's cycle this key again, and we'll watch the live data here. So we're gonna watch this right here. This relay is gonna turn on, and we're gonna see our scope voltage come up, and we'll see a good pulse width and everything here. So everything's off. So true. You can see this is off now, and our voltages here drop out. That's normal. So with the fuel pump relay turned on, the pump can run. It can do several things. The way the description says, when the relay is on, it passes some of that 12 volts out to the engine control module on the pulse width circuit. So you can see our red trace here still has some kind of voltage going on, and it's doing stuff. You can see it's pulse width still. That's our control wire, and when the relay is on, power is getting passed into that, so it gets it pulled up high, and then the engine control module is pulling it down to ground. Okay, the yellow feedback wire right here, we're sitting at just right at 5 volts here. That's coming from the engine control module as well. So engine control module sending 5 volts back. It's looking for the module to pull it to ground. The module is sending 12 volts up, getting it pulled to ground. So we've got control, the actual control wires, 12 volts being pulled to ground. The feedback is sending 5 volts and is looking for the module to pull it to ground. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. So let's turn the key on again. We'll see this come on. Or well, let's crank it. You can see true. We got power. We got 12 volts on our red. And you can see it's getting pulled all the way to ground. But our green, which is our ground wire, that is not ground. You can see we're floating about 2.5 volts there. And if we move it out of the way, the feedback circuit is not getting pulled all the way to ground. It's pretty interesting right there. So it is looking like we've got a bad ground going to this fuel pump control module. So let me move some of this stuff out of the way a little bit. We'll get this 12 volts pulled up out here. We'll get this pulled down here. Get this one pulled down here. So now that we're idled down a little bit more, you can see this ground is floating about 1.8 volts, and the yellow trace is matching that. So that's what I'm saying. The engine control module sending out this 5 volts, and it's looking for the fuel pump control module to pull it to ground. And that is what the PCM is looking at. It sees this. So what I'm thinking happens is, while I was driving it, I think this ground gets elevated even a little higher, to the point to where the engine control module, it does not actually see the feedback circuit being pulled past the threshold that it is looking for, to know that that pump is running and having a feedback circuit. So I'm gonna track the ground down to this thing. We'll give it some wiggle test and see if we can make this kind of act up a little bit more. Alright, so I've looked up the diagram here, and it's kind of showing the ground here. I don't really like this view because this is a regular cab truck view, but shows it kind of being right in front of the axle here on the frame, and then on the aftermarket redrawn diagrams I found it, and it says on the left frame rail forward of the rear axle. So I think I've found where that is. So let's get the Pico pulled back up here. Start the screen capture again. And I'm going to use just the bidirectional controls to turn the fuel pump on. So if I turn this on, alright, we hear the pump run, and we can see the ground gets elevated there. So I'm just going to let that run. And under here, I think I have the ground located right here. So let's see if I can just kind of wiggle this around a little bit. It's not really affecting that at all. Not seeing any issues there. So I'm going to take this off anyways. I'm going to clean this and put it back together, and just to make sure this isn't the issue here. So this is pretty cool. I've got the capture still going there. And as you can see, we've got our 12 volts, and our command is 12 volts. But the ground is elevated basically about 10 volts or so. The yellow trace, I think it's like 9 volts or so. Not real sure. I've got the scan tool, still got the relay turned on for the fuel pump. And I've got the nut taken off under here and the wire undone. So that does prove this is my right ground. And the nut, I'm not real sure if y'all get this in camera or not. It's a little rusted on the inside here. So we've definitely got some corrosion going on. And then on the stud itself up there, it's pretty rusted up a little bit. The ring terminal's a little rusty. So let's get this cleaned up really good and see what happens when we put it back together. Well, I got this back together under here. Got the fuel pump on, and we've still got the same pattern on the scope. So, is the problem in the wire from there to here, or do I have a different ground issue from this frame back to the battery? I need to move one of my scope leads from in there to out here, and see if we can narrow down this issue. Alright, so channel A, that was my 12 volts coming back to the pump. So I've got that one out here now. And what I want to do is just take this and touch it to the stud here. Okay. And on the scope, you can see how that matches our green perfectly. If I touch it to the ring terminal here, same thing. My blue and green are matching. So that tells me my issue is in the frame ground. If I can get that stabbed into the metal there, you can see on the scope, my frame ground is where I'm getting that voltage rise from. So I've now got to figure out where this frame gets battery ground. Alright, so I've got you guys on here. My voltage is down to about 700 now. You can see this Yellow Tray Square Wave is getting closer to ground, but I found the issue. So just looked at ground locations and found the main frame ground is this one right here. And just looking at it, you zoom you in here, that nut looks like it's barely on there. And if I just kind of touch this, you see that? You see what's happening with my scope there? You can see that arcing back there behind it. There's our issue. So, at some point that nut has either been took loose or worked its way loose, and that is the cause of our issues. That's pretty cool. Let me get a ratchet and tighten that back up. So I'm pretty sure this nut's been replaced with the wrong one. It's an 11 socket, which doesn't make sense. There's not a whole lot of things that's 11, and if you see this, it just keeps spinning. And you can see on our scope that we get a good ground and then it goes away. Yeah. And now it's shut off completely. Probably timed out. ECM probably timed out. But we're gonna have to get this off, see what's going on back here. And the findings say that stud has been broke off before. Somebody tried putting another nut on there and the nut is stripped out. So it's not going to be a very easy repair there. We're going to have to figure out some way of reattaching that to the frame. It's not the best repair ever, but that's what I could do there. I've got a hole drilled, I tapped it. I basically just kind of like felt how thick the frame is. It's pretty thick. It's probably at least 1/8 of an inch thick. So I just drilled, tapped it for a 10mm bolt, tightened it down there real good. So let's crank the truck and we'll see what our scope pattern looks like now. And there we go, we got good 0 on the ground. Our yellow trays pulling the ground. Ignore the blue, I've got it unhooked, but there we go. I believe we have fixed this truck. What an interesting failure for a ground. Grounds always can cause weird issues. It's kind of cool. So, what do you think, guys? Do you think that repair will last? I don't know. It's a 2018 model truck. Sadly, it's fairly new, and to have a ground stud be broke off like that, it kind of sucks. But it's all I've got to work with here. I really don't know of a better way of doing that other than spot welding another stud back in it, but I'm not equipped to do that. So a drill and tap, that's what I got. That's what they're getting. I'm gonna tell them that, you know, that's how I had to fix it. They are more than welcome to redo it however they see fit. But I believe that's gonna be the fix for this truck. It's really not what I expected to find with this thing. That's kind of cool. So, what do you guys think? Is it gonna last? Leave it down there in the comments what you would have done different. Give this one final code scan and clear. What do you guys think about this tool? I'm kind of liking it. It's nice. For some reason I really like where they've put the power button on this one. It's real easy to get to and stuff. So let me know if you guys want to see more of this. The link to this is going to be on the Amazon store down in the description. It'll take you where you can get this thing. You can get it off of Amazon. The seller is King Bolin. He's an authorized launch seller on Amazon. Probably the only one. The only authorized one. But we've got USB ports under here. I do know that, let's see if we can go home here. I do know when you click on other modules here, and let's see, was it under other modules? Toolbox. Yeah, we got the oscilloscope, the immobilizer programmer. So I'm gonna one day hook my Topdon scope and immobilizer programmer, the T-Ninja box, up to this thing, see if they work with this thing. I think they will. Pretty sure they will. So what do you guys think about it? You like it? I think it's going to be a nice addition to my scan tools. It's definitely going to be nice having another tool to be able to do these Chrysler Gateway vehicles. And yeah, so thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later.